Experiment. Explore. Enjoy.
Urs, nice to see you again, Superbooth.
Yeah, nice to see you too.
As I've said to many of my subjects this year, another city, another trade show. But this is very different. It's a fun one, and it's your hometown. So
yeah, that's very
makes it a lot
useful.
easier.
Yeah, we can get a bigger booth, and we have barbecue and stuff here.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Nobody
yeah.
told me that. Okay, well I'll come
No,
back.
I'll
at
come back
lunchtime.
later, like 3 or so. I think we start, or maybe at lunchtime. Yeah.
Okay, well, so what's happening?
So yeah, not much has happened, but everything is in the flow. So my idea is to just show you brief updates on things that are happening, and that means a couple of existing things that have new things put into them, and a couple of new things that are nowhere near ready, and a couple of things that are pretty much ready and you can actually hear them, and that kind of stuff. So right, and then we start with the software. So we've already covered this. This is Zebralette. And people always wanted to have a dark mode. So in these very unfortunate light situations,
Really very bad for super
we're
bright, but
going
perfect for a dark studio.
for a dark mode here, right? So we've got all sorts of things going on here, and it's for people who don't want to strain their eyes. It's pretty nice. It does the job, I think. And that is gonna be in the next beta whenever we'll be able to put out the next beta. But that's also very far, right? So we've got a few changes here, a few changes there, what people wanted from us. That's one of the things. Another thing that we're working on that's nowhere near ready is this. This is also pretty dark. It's an oscilloscope, right? It's basically the same kind of oscilloscope that's in Hive, but made into its own thing. And it has stuff like freeze, right? So you can zoom in onto things, go back and forth, and you can actually make it bigger, of course, right? So this kind of stuff.
Can you get down to a single cycle sort of?
Yes, you can. This is the whole point of it. So you can zoom like 16 times in, that kind of stuff, right? And now we're at sample level, and I'll make it even a little bit bigger, right? And at sample level, we can go to dots. So you see the actual dots, and let me just put in the right channel as well, or both channels, and then there's the auto setting, and we need a louder area. So we can just go back and forth in time, and it has pitch detection, so it nicely shows you single cycles of something deeper than a little bell tone or something.
Yeah.
And what you can do is you can actually, what you see, you can always save as a WAV file, which is quite useful. And then you can also can create snapshots, right? So here you do this, you pop. I created a snapshot, and now I can actually show the snapshot like this. And I have to make it bigger as well, right? So that's the same thing. And then you can compare stuff. And you can have like 4 different snapshots and that kind of stuff. And then you can do beautiful painting with this. So I switch the snapshot off, I unfreeze, and maybe I get something louder, like sawtooth with a little bit of unison, a little bit of detune, and I go back in here, and this is probably going to be loud. Oh, okay, and it's very, very high pitched. Why is it so high pitched?
I'll go a couple of octaves down for you.
Yeah.
Oops, it's too far.
Oh, yeah, something like that, right? So you do this, and then and we should filter a bit so that so we got detune, and this plugin doesn't have a filter, so we have an oscillator effect which is a filter. Something like this, right? And then we can go into glow mode here, and in glow mode we can have afterglow, right? And we don't make it that big, and we switch auto off, so they.
It sort of looks like FFT, doesn't it? In a old school.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. So we can shift things around, and we can do more afterglow, and then it just fills up. Can be really nice. right? Stuff like that. And I've seen nicer patterns, but I can't conjure them just so quickly. And what you can also do is, you know, you have this large history, a couple of seconds of history, right? Oh, that was a strange melody that I normally don't play. And you can't only freeze it; you can also go into a what's it called, a spectrum mode. So you can have different windows. I can go down with the afterglow, and I can go with like a filled mode, right? And the point of this is that it's super snappy. So I think most
YouTube reviewers are going to be putting their waveforms through them for the...
Yeah, probably. I mean, the color schemes and stuff is going to all be choosable and stuff. And you can, there's like a smoothing thing. If I take the smoothing off, you see how snappy it is, right? It's like really there, and it interpolates so well that you actually all peaks are on the correct spot, even though the resolution is like, it's just got one resolution at the moment. Maybe we add a few more, so, and yeah, no, and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's something that's in the works, which we might explore a bit more. It's made for us internally for our own stuff.
Right.
But
okay.
I've used it a lot now to create samples. I created drum samples for a performance I did yesterday from Zebralette. I used this thing, so you just play a bit. So I like this one, and then you freeze. You go back. You select your window, and you can go sample accurate, right? You see the samples, you can go sample. You can display how many samples you got there. You know what you got, and you save it. There you go. And maybe one day we can make something like wavetable export from it.
Yeah,
or,
that makes sense. Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't have any peak detection yet or any of that, but there's
So I
something
suppose
that
it could be of useful utility.
yeah, it could be, right? So we're thinking about pushing this a little bit further and see how we go. You know, we don't know yet. So that's that one thing. And then the next thing I want to show is that we have quietly made a few VCV rack modules out of Civilization. So this is the Matrix mixer mode. And I think that's the only one we got at the moment. So we're kind of like actually pretty far with a couple of things on VCV rack.
Oh,
so
nice.
I think we just have to eventually set up. There's a store for these, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
And oh yeah, here's a wiretap. Is actually how do I move around? Here's a wiretap, and wiretap, by the way, which we've showcased like years ago, I think. It's finally not only manufactured, but the firmware is also actually in beta with people, and yay, it's gonna come out at some point. Yeah. So and then the next thing, speaking of analog or hardware gear in software form, here's hardware gear in its actual form. And I don't know if we need sound for that.
Okay.
Maybe we try without. It's just quickly go through it.
Okay, sure.
So what we have is we've already showcased the envelope module, right, which has got an AD break T SR envelope, a HD envelope, and an AR envelope. So it's like made for a single voiced, and the AR envelope can loop, so it can be the LFO, right? So it can be
like function and envelope, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it could be like a filter envelope, a volume envelope, and LFO for a voice. But what we also showcased in a performance yesterday was that you can set it to a quad mode. Then you've got 4 times the same envelope with velocity for 4 voices.
Wow.
Right? Yeah, that's pretty cool. And to showcase that, we needed 4 oscillators. So we created a new alternative oscillator mode for Civilization. So Civilization now also has a mode that can replace one of the other modes in an upcoming firmware where you have 4 oscillators, and not just oscillators. So you've got 4 channels. You go with CV, 1 volt per octave into it. and out comes, let's say, a triangle with a sub-oscillator and vibrato on one channel, and on the next channel, we do have PWM on it.
Thank you.
Had to be. And also with the sub-oscillator, we've got 2 sawtooths, 7 sawtooths detuned with sub-oscillator. We got a chord mode, which has like various chords where you go through. So PWM means it's got its own LFO inside.
So it's almost like a synth, not a synth board, but a set of oscillators.
Yeah, it's like four rather complex virtual analog oscillators for your bread and butter stuff. They don't do FM or anything like that. But it's 10 HP, and for people who have civilization, I think it's gonna be like a whole new dimension of things that can do.
It's great for poly stuff as well, I'd imagine. Yeah,
that's what we showcase. We showcase poly with the envelope module and with civilization, and then.
So should I ask you about when that firmware is going to be available, or is that like a question? Question number 1 on the list of questions never to ask a software developer.
Yeah, I know. So. From my side, it's pretty much ready. We still have to work on the config file, so you will have to use the config file that's on the SD card, which is inside Civilization. And we have a website where you have a configurator for that, and you put that stuff together and then put it on your SD card, and Civilization will be configured. And that is still something we have to work on, and we haven't really beta tested it. So it was coded like in the past couple of weeks, and
right.
what I actually used the oscilloscope for. And what's really good about it is, so it works with a synthesis technique called polybleps. Yes, polybleps. So that's band limited steps made up from a polynomial, and those are very common, but they still alias a lot. So those that I found, I was like, I'm not sure if that's something for me. But then I thought maybe I could explore this a little bit, and I went into Maple, which is a mathematical program, like a computer algebra system. Yeah. So I went into Maple, and I built myself a program in Maple to quickly try different of these bleps, of these polynomials, and I copy pasted them into the software and stuff, and I got to more than 60 dBs of rejection of aliasing at oscillator frequency of 8 kilohertz, which is very good.
Right.
So
okay,
you don't hear any aliasing in it.
Right,
and
nice.
it also has, and some of these bleps then attenuate the upper spectrum, so you have like a bit of filtering in them.
Right, so it's like key tracking.
And I got rid of that as well. So it's really, I think it's a really good sounding oscillator for a digital oscillator. Just still doesn't do FM or any of that. But you got, if you want, you have 7x4, 28 sawtooths plus sub oscillator, and plus LFO, and we know it still has some CPU left for something else if we wanted to do that.
A damn fine unison.
Yeah, and it's really a lot for what this kind of module could do. So and then we already covered the envelope, we covered civilization, wiretap we covered quickly. Our filter is coming along as well, but we're still working. This needs a lot of fine-tuning to be really on the spot, really good filter. But the next thing that's really important is Centurion is maturing nicely. This switch is going to come up here. So this is our you have 6 inputs. And you can distribute these 6 inputs onto 2 outputs, like a scanning mixer with a width control and with a selector. And it's called Centurion because of a reference to a sci-fi figure called Centurion that's written differently, of course, spelled differently. And everything is CV controllable. And yeah, so and there's gonna be one more switch that I want, and then this is gonna be ready to be produced.
So I'm curious, do you find is it hard? Is it frustrating to design analog because it's quicker? It's slower to. There's a slower creative cycle because I mean in code you're very fluid in that, and you can you can bash things together and kind of go and then finesse it. Is it harder?
I don't think it's necessarily slower, right? So in code, when you want to make something that sounds really good, it can take a while, and it's draining, and it's like, particularly if you do an analog model of or a model of an analog model. Digital analog model of an analog synth, and you sit there and it's draining to just always measure, and then try to recreate that in code. And with the hardware, you know, it's that part, you solder it together. There it is. So we have this hardware guy now. So whenever we want something, the first thing he does is he makes a PCB, gets the PCB. He doesn't even prototype on a breadboard anymore because that's too draining. He gets the PCB delivered in like 2 days or something, and then he solders all the stuff on it. And then he just fixes. He takes some resistors away or something. I don't know. It's actually quite quick to get to results there. Just going, then. I don't always have time to try these things, and it's usually always in preparation for Superbooth, and then something that's ready for Superbooth, and I try it, it's like, no, it's not ready yet. I need this one more thing, right? I need this jumper. Where's this jumper? I need this jumper. And yeah, so this is how these things expand in time, right? So yeah, that's how.
Excellent.
How these things work.
So which is going to be first, the oscillator or the scope, or the Civilization firmware?
I think the Civilization firmware will be next, because that is we have to work a little bit on the UI. So we're visualizing the waveform by the blinking of two of the encoders. For me, that's very logical. For other people, it's like, what are they doing? And you can, we have to make a like one of these cheat sheets, right? So like at least something that shows you how it's done. And animations are not easily displayed on paper.
That's true.
Because the paper itself doesn't animate. Right?
Well. Thanks for clearing that up.
Important information, right? So but I think Civilization will be first. The new firmware will of course be free and stuff. And then the envelope, we still haven't found a name, so we call it Sloopy internally, after a restaurant in Manhattan Beach, where we had breakfast last year. And because it's got slopes, you can that's why. And it also can loop. Slopes, loops, loopy. Well, it sounds more like an LFO then, right? So I don't know. We're still working on the name, but the electronics, the firmware, everything in there is pretty much ready to go. We just have to produce it.
Okay.
Right. So and we're getting special faders made with the faders have LEDs.
Did you take them off of the JD, the boutique JD?
I have no idea where these come from, but we're in contact with a company who makes special ones for us with special colors, because we want to have it in. We're going for this orange LED color scheme, like on Wiretap has it, Centurion has it.
All right, so you want everything to have that,
we want to go in this orange
your thing.
And it needs to be dual color, so we need a second color for the configuration pages. We have configuration pages.
I understand.
Yeah. So, but that's pretty much that's what happened and what's visible. Zebralette, many bugs fixed. So we started a beta test like right after NAMM, after we had the show, and or like 2 weeks later. And of course we got like tons of feature requests and bug reports, right? Of course it's got bugs, it's the beta. And yeah, we're waiting through that, and that's coming up nicely. Then more clap, more, people working on Ubik. That's gonna be huge, I think, once that's finally done, and it looks very good for that. Maybe this year, we hope.
Okay.
And and then for NAMM we hope to show Zebra 3, but they'll kill me after I say that.
That's why you made everybody leave, right? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much, Urs. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, likewise.